fourth time that I was sexually assaulted, I wasn't raped. There was no penetration of any kind, and this guy didn't even kiss me on the mouth. But it's the most jarring thing that's ever happened to me. And I had just started working at the Adelaide Fringe Festival, and I had made all of these amazing, wonderful friends, these respectful, welcoming people, and there was a girl I worked with who I got along with brilliantly. She introduced me to someone that she'd been kind of seeing from before the Fringe. And I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, for want of a better word, but I know that they weren't monogamous. They were both seeing other people. One night I was out with my friend and she was with someone else. And this guy was unreasonably angry that my friend was with somebody else. So he was ignoring us for most of the night. My friend went home with her boy and I found myself chatting with this guy. This particular night, I had also seen the two guys that I was sleeping with go home with other girls. And from my flimsy as fuck high horse, girls I thought were less attractive than me. So I was a bit upset and I started drinking a little bit heavier. And I found myself on a couch in this darkened corner of the room, and I was chatting to this guy and describing how seeing those boys go home with other girls was making me feel pretty inadequate. I was trying to find the words to describe how that was compounding on these feelings of inadequacy that I had been harboring from a recent breakup. And this guy was a really good listener. At one point, he sat up and leant over me on this couch. He looked at me and said, "You want to kiss me?" And I just tried to laugh it off and I said, "Look, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't do that to my friend anyway." He looked at me and said, "Yeah, but you do though." And I had to physically push him off of me. We kept chatting on this couch, but then the police rocked up, so party's over. And we each made our way out the front of this pub with our Ubers booked to our respective houses. And then he asked me to go home with him. And I looked at him and I said, "Why would I go home with you? I'm not interested in you." And he said, No, nothing would happen. I just want to keep talking with you. It's been really nice talking with you. And talking with this guy had been really nice. So I looked at him and I said, Nothing is going to happen if I go home with you. I don't want anything to happen with you. And he said, No, that's fine. Nothing will happen. We'll just keep talking. So I cancelled my Uber. And I went with him back to his house and we didn't do any more talking. He took his shoes off and got into the bed and I followed suit, remaining clothed. And I spent the rest of my night fending him off. He put his hand on my thigh and he would run it to the bottom of my shorts and I would hit it away and say no. He'd put his hand on my breast and I'd move it. He'd complain and say, "Yeah, but it's comfortable there." And I'd say I didn't care. He'd roll me onto my back and he would kiss up my neck before leaning over me and saying, "You want to kiss me," and I would have to physically push him off of me and say, "No, I told you nothing was happening tonight." He put his hand up my shirt, which had been tucked into my shorts, and I took it out. I said no, and I tucked my shirt back in. He grabbed my breast again, and I moved it, and I said no. And he said, "Oh, you want me to go lower?" And he got to the waistband of my shorts before I hit him away again. And this shit kept up all night. In the morning, the only time he would physically release me was when I said I was going to be sick. And I went to the bathroom and I threw up. I wasn't lying. I get bad hangovers. I came back into that room, I grabbed my shoes, I grabbed my backpack, and I said, "I've got an Uber on the way, 2 minutes." And that was a lie. I ended up sitting on the pavement out the front of his house, feeling like I wanted to curl up and die for 10 minutes, but anything was better than being in that room with him. Now, as I said, that guy didn't rape me. That guy didn't even kiss me on the mouth, but that night fucked me up. Because I had been so clear, so explicit with my intention or my lack thereof, and he had agreed. But because I was in his house, because I was in his bed, he acted entitled to my body. Entitled enough to continually put me in positions where I had to say no over and over and over again to every touch, to every movement, to every rollover, to every attempted kiss, and I felt like it was barely enough. I felt like I was hanging on by a thread. Because I knew what could happen if he wanted it to. I mean, that guy had a lot of strength over me. A lot of physical strength. But I mean, he told me exactly what I needed to hear to feel comfortable going home with him. And I should not have gone. And I know that, but I was so clear. And does he have any idea how this has affected me? Probably not. I mean, perhaps he thought he was just trying to woo me. Perhaps when he tells the story, I was just some frigid little bitch. Perhaps he's done the same thing to other girls, and perhaps some of those girls didn't say no as many times as I did.